is still missing, if that makes sense. Anyway, just stick with me. This case has recently been in the news, which is why or how I discovered it. And it is the disappearance of Suzanne Morphew. We're going to go back to 2020, just days after her 49th birthday. Suzanne Morphew went missing on Mother's Day, 2020, from the $1.7 million Colorado mansion that she shared with her husband, Barry, and their 2 adult daughters, Mallory and Macy. Suzanne was alone that Sunday, and her husband was allegedly 140 miles away in Denver, setting up a landscaping job or firefighter training. We'll talk about that. While her daughters were planning to return from a camping trip in Idaho and spend Mother's Day with their mom. It was a pretty normal thing for Suzanne to go on bike rides. But when her daughters could not get a hold of her for several hours, they asked their neighbor to check up on her because they were not quite home yet. Suzanne was nowhere to be seen, and at around 5:45 p.m., the neighbor filed a missing persons report in the Caffey County Communications Center. This neighbor said that Suzanne had presumably disappeared in the area on County Road 225 and West Highway 50. Authorities moved pretty quickly. They got out the drones and the dogs, just really moving fast, knowing that the longer it took, the less chance that the person would be alive. They were just trying to find any traces of what happened to Suzanne. Barry was, of course, notified that his wife was missing, and he returned from Denver that evening. At first, he was pretty adamant that Suzanne must have been attacked by a wild animal, even though the search dogs never picked up her scent in the woods. The first search came up empty, but the next day the police were back in that area looking for more clues, and surprisingly, they found a pretty major one. An investigator found Suzanne's bike at the bottom of a nearby hill. In fact, it was in a spot that they'd covered already in the previous search. They, of course, suspected that the bike could have been planted there. There was very little damage to the bike itself, and the police have never really shared whether they found any clues on it or not. 2 days after Suzanne went missing, a store manager in that area said Barry Morphew had knocked on her window and given her a note. Baby blue bike helmet, biker's clothing. This was the description of his wife, he said, and he asked the manager to keep a lookout for her. The Poncha Marker store manager was pretty baffled because this hastily scribbled note didn't include a physical description of his wife whatsoever, like her hair color, her height, or the color of her eyes. By May 14th, Barry's theory of his wife's disappearance Suzanne close to her home. On that same day, the day that Barry posted the Facebook video, authorities expanded the investigation and started searching water sites, hoping to find more clues. They asked residents nearby to keep any video footage that they may have between May 8th and May 12th. 9 days after Suzanne went missing, authorities searched the Morphew home for the first time. What they found hasn't been disclosed to the public, but the pictures from the scene do show evidence bags being removed from the house. On May 22nd, police organized a search of a nearby riverfront property where Barry had previously completed a landscaping job. The property was 12 miles away from the Morphew home, and authorities dug up a freshly made concrete slab on the site. But they didn't find anything underneath it, and that search ended 2 days later. It seemed like authorities had really hit a dead end on this case, and it remained quiet for weeks. In the meantime, neighbors started calling the police station with tips, offering more clues about Suzanne and Barry's relationship and her disappearance, and this prompted police to search the home again on July 9th. After weeks of speculation and no new leads shared to the public, Barry starts to speak out. He continues to believe that his wife was mauled by an animal or had a run-in with someone she knew. By the end of August, though, Suzanne's brother Andrew has started to organize his own independent search for her. He was gathering volunteers and even started a GoFundMe page to cover the costs of this search. Andrew reportedly believed that Barry might have something to do with his sister's disappearance. When police started to look more into Barry, they spoke with his employees to get a better sense of the man that he was, what kind of boss he was, what kind of person. 2 of his employees claimed to be inside of the hotel room that Barry used in Denver on the day that Suzanne was reported missing. They remember it smelled pretty strongly of bleach, and there were wet towels everywhere, and it seemed like he hadn't even slept in his bed. Andrew's independent search started September 24th, and it included hundreds of volunteers. Just days after it began, searchers found a clue that they took to the FBI. The cadaver dogs had picked up a scent on a plot of land owned by the Morphew family. A special team was sent out to the site to search the property, and that's when police stopped sharing evidence in this case. That is, until months later when they arrested Barry. All these months of radio silence from the authorities made many people believe that this case had gone cold. In fact, the police were using this time to analyze evidence, gather witness reports, and build a case against Suzanne's husband. At some point, this case went from a disappearance to a possible homicide. In May of 2020, 1 year after Suzanne disappeared, authorities arrested Barry. He was charged with first-degree murder, attempting to influence a public servant connected to his wife's case, and tampering with physical evidence. Before his arrest, Barry had put the family's Colorado mansion up for sale. He said that his daughters were scared to live in a place where their mother may have been abducted, and the home was sold just days before he was arrested. The district attorney has said she's confident Suzanne was murdered, even though authorities have not been able to find her body. Though Barry had a pretty solid alibi for Mother's Day when he was in Denver, police believe he may have killed Suzanne the day before, on May 9th. also questioned his need to go to Denver in the first place. Since he was a volunteer firefighter, he initially said that he went to Denver for firefighting training. But it turned out there was no training planned for Sunday. All the training sessions were postponed due to COVID. That made investigators really question the purpose of Barry's trip. Well, that and the reports of the hotel room smelling like bleach. And they began building a different case. Now, Barry and Suzanne tied the knot in 1994, and to many people, they seemed like the perfect couple. They were happy, they had 2 amazing daughters. Suzanne was a cancer survivor, having overcome Hodgkin's lymphoma twice. The first time before her daughters were born, and the second time in 2018, right after the family moved to Colorado. At the time of her disappearance, she had just finished her last cancer treatment and was starting her life cancer-free again. During this investigation, it was hinted that Suzanne and Barry may have hit a rough patch in their relationship. Barry allegedly wasn't the greatest boss to have, and he had a darker side that he kept pretty well hidden. Now, that's fact or speculation, no one can say. Only those involved really know. Barry's trial is still ongoing, and the details about this case the police are holding pretty close to the chest. I want to say that anyone is innocent until proven guilty, and time will really tell what will happen to Barry if he cracks and reveals where his wife's body is, or if he continues to claim innocence. I kind of almost always blame the spouse or the boyfriend. I think it's really suspicious that he was out of town, and the hotel room smelling like bleach. I do think it's kind of odd. I mean, I just don't understand how people just poof like that. It doesn't make sense to me. I do think he had something to do with it. I read a couple articles that said that they were having money issues, and as many cases as we have talked about here on my channel, for people hurting people for way less than that, I could easily believe that, bolstered by the fact that he also sold the $1.7 million mansion. I don't know if there are some underlying things going on there that he got himself mixed up in, and maybe she got angry or questioned him and he snapped. I don't know if they used luminol in the house. I hear one of those roadster races. Oh, people in my town are so dumb. Sorry. I don't know if they used any luminol in the house, if they found anything that was not in any of the articles that I read. They are really, really keeping the details of this awfully close. But I read an article about him being arrested and really wanted to share this case with you guys on my channel. I know this is a shorter video. I haven't really had a lot of time to research videos. I have been spending a lot of time at my mom's house this week and last weekend. So yeah, if you're on my Patreon, you know a little bit more about that. But I will have a solved case questions asked really reminded me of Chris and Shanann Watts, a case that I have thought about covering many times on my channel and just never have done because it's so heartbreaking. But he just reminded me of that classic sociopath standing there lying to the world about what happened when he knew exactly what happened, and he just gave me the icky vibe. I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased, but tell me what you think in the comments down below, and we will watch this one together, and maybe I can do another video after the trial, and we can talk about more about what happened. Sounds like my neighbors are starting to have a party at 9:30 at night, so I'm gonna close this video with a thank you and a good night. Good night. Good night. I'll see you guys next week.